The idea behind GX1, that evolution from our origins with HoverMap 100 to the ST, to the STX, to now GX1, is to take that package that is highly versatile, but make it into a concise single unit so that all of the different aspects that we want, cameras, RTK, battery integration, is all into a single system. Makes it so much easier to set up and deploy, and ready to use, user-friendly, and foolproof.
We have four 20 megapixel cameras on the top. We have RTK integrated gnss. We have a HSI LiDAR, which is the 300 meter range LiDAR. So we have precision 2 millimeter. We have a global accuracy from 10 to 15 millimeters. And local accuracy around 5 millimeters. The weight is 3.5 kilo. Yeah, and the battery level life is 1 hour of capturing the data. The GX1, it's IP65, which is really high level of IP. And yes, we could capture environments during the rainy weather and as well as the dust environment. Is not a problem for collecting the data with the GX1.
Emesent started in underground mining. There was an absolute need and a use case for us in that space, and it allowed us to develop the technology and improve on what we were doing. It helped Emesent grow into the company that it is today. But as we grew, we saw new verticals, new opportunities, new markets. And we started talking and working with professional engineers and surveyors who saw the benefits of SLAM and wanted a tool that was more customized to their needs and to their use case. And GX1 has pretty much been designed for exactly that. It's been designed from the ground up for the engineering surveyor in the AEC market. What we are enabling them is a easy to use, rapid to deploy system that is straight out of the box and onto your backpack or onto your staff or your pole and onto the field for that field to finish turnaround quickly.
We all know that this market is moving so fast. If someone had told me 15 years ago that there would have been a system able to create a 3D point cloud in a dynamic way while it was moving inside an environment, I would have been skeptical. But now we're talking about SLAM systems. But now there are LiDAR sensors that are carried by drones. We might think that new buyers, new clients are surveyors. But they're not. Well, of course, surveyors are new buyers. New buyers are archaeologists, geologists, forestry professional, civil or infrastructural engineer, architects. And they do not want to become surveyors. What they need is just having their problems solved in their own work. New buyers might not be prepared to complexity. New buyers prefer having things moving smoothly, without any problems, without any troubles. And because of that, so they're gonna call you and they're gonna ask you for assistance and they're gonna ask for support. If there's trust, if someone trusts you, and I mean you as brand, technology, dealers and resellers, if someone trusts you, confidence increases. And risk is going down. But gaining trust is not easy because trust is made up of a lot of things. To gain trust, you need to listen carefully to people, to their needs, to what they intend to do with that piece of equipment. You need to speak with them, explaining the pros and the cons of the solution. If you are able to understand a client's need and even say, no, it's better that you invest your money in something else, you gain a tremendous amount of trust, Maybe they're not gonna buy that piece of equipment now, but they come back. And potentially they're gonna tell other professionals that they could trust you. If there's trust, everything that is risk related is gonna lower it down. I'm not saying that it's gonna be easy. It's not gonna be that. But trust, it's the more important word for driving adoption. Innovation is global. But when global innovation meets and listens to local psychology, confidence increases. And when confidence increases, trust grows. And when trust grows, markets move.
If you're using a SLAM-based LiDAR scanning system, the SLAM algorithm is the fundamental, most important aspect of that device. Emesent SLAM is by far, easily, the strongest SLAM in the world. And that's a bold claim. People ask us, well, how do we know that that's true? Of course, you're going to say that as an Emesent person. So there's different ways that we can show that. And we do independent reviews by contractors, surveyors, engineers, people like this who will independently review the quality of our data. And we have those data sets available to share. But my favorite way to demonstrate the strength of our SLAM is to look at the versatility of how the unit can be deployed. The versatility is a sign of the strength of the SLAM. Many other systems can only be deployed in a very specific manner. And if you divert from that deployment technique, the SLAM breaks. HoverMap STX GX-1 is independent. It's agnostic on what platform it's on. It doesn't care how it's being deployed. That's a true testament to how strong the SLAM algorithm is. It doesn't care how it's oriented, what vehicle it's on. That versatility shows the strength. And then the other one that's a little bit more hard to quantify is the lack of problems, right? So it's hard to quantify a negative or the lack of an issue. But really, the field work and the lack of issues that we have from our clients, where other systems fail, Emesent succeeds, is how we know that we have the strongest SLAM in the world. From a SLAM-based perspective, we have mobility and speed. From a TLS perspective, you have precision and accuracy. I see those two instruments converging. And within the next few years, I don't think we'll have a word for the two different products. They will be the scanner that has mobility and precision accuracy. We can see that in GX1.
So it's important to note at this point. So when we looked at the roadshows, when we decided where we were going to take GX1, the primary was America, and that wasn't from the business scale. That's because we had Geo Week that week. So we had a big launch, and then it made sense to leave the units in region and then travel around the US. Our best market in the world or one of our best markets, probably the best market, is Italy. So that obviously was easy for us to select Italy as the first location to bring GX1 into Europe. So it was instrumental, as was the Dealer Symposium in Rome. We wanted a great showcase, a great city to show what GX is capable of doing, and what better than Rome, to be fair. So that was it. The reseller engagement was positive. They've been asking for this for a long time. Certainly from the colorization perspective, from the integration of certain elements to it, the integrated gnss, everything was we've been working to meet that requirement of our resellers effectively. Rome speaks for itself, apart from being very, very busy and getting up early and having to walk. It's the perfect place to launch GX1 into the European market, into EMEA.
The general consensus that when we talk to people that don't really know about SLAM or already know about SLAM, what their impression is that it's great to have something that's all in one. So we don't have to add a GoPro, we don't have to add a GNSS receiver for RTK because it's already built in. It has batteries also inside, so there is no cables hanging around or anything. So some people already know about SLAM technology, so it's easy to have a chat about that to them. And, they're like looking for other solutions. So GX1 is a good option for them. some people also don't know anything about SLAM. So especially at ConExpo, I think a lot of people were like wondering, what is SLAM? What is it? And so I think there is still a lot of education to do in that sense, yeah. The fact that the GX1 is very different from the hover map, but also from other scanners in the market, people really stop by and, they wonder, what is it? What does it do? And why is it designed this way? I think the good thing about it, it's got a cage, so it's kind of protected as well. And, it's got like some light to tell you what's happening, but also there is a bit of sound, as you've seen when we turn it on, or if there is a problem. So it's kind of visual, but also you can hear it. So I think it is it's very good for people that really like new tech. So a lot of people would stop by and say, oh, I would totally buy that because it's different, right? And of course, you always have other people that say, oh, well, I'm not ready to buy yet because I don't know, it's too new, So, but there is people that, definitely came by at the stand and, they were really looking at this thing and, it looks a bit futuristic. So I think, it catches the eye, definitely. With the new GX1, talking to the partners and to end users is kind of the same in a way, because our dealers and resellers, they are also fans of technology, and most of them have a background in surveying. So they would have the same questions and the same thinking as an end user who's already in the surveying industry. So in a sense, it's really good because, the challengers, they ask us questions like, why did you do that? And what's in it? And, how does it work? And we love that because that's how we develop this product. We spent 2 years talking to the partners, but also to end users, because we don't want to create a product that doesn't suit the market. I think, so I found that a lot of the questions were the same across partners and end users. So that, we did a lot of education during that roadshow.
So the main challenges that we faced when developing the GX1 in relation to some of the features that the SDX has was pulling through all of the really important data that we wanted, the high accuracy, the really good imagery, and the versatility sort of aspects that we really wanted to incorporate without sacrificing any one of them. So we wanted to keep everything accurate with great imagery and it being a versatile unit. However, incorporating all of that into one unit means that the weight has to be sacrificed somewhere. So we had to sacrifice some of the versatility, which is in the form of we can't fly with the GX1 on a drone. Yeah, so for us, feedback from the market is very, very important. What we don't want to do is produce something that we think they want and miss the mark. So getting that feedback from not just one or two, but a wide array of users from different countries, different regions, and understand what we can do to help them is integral to creating a new unit and making sure it actually fits into exactly what the market needs. Yeah, so the reliability is key. And we also do have a kind of network of beta testers, so we get real-world feedback on new features as we release them. But the last thing we want to do is release beta products to the open market, because there's sort of reputational damage that can come with that. So we like to have everything fully polished before we release it, and we do have a network that we test things with as well to get that vital feedback which creates the new features and make sure that they actually fit into what they're trying to achieve, that they're actually solving the problem and not missing the mark, like I said before. Yeah.
When it comes to the versatility, the two units are very, very versatile. But the STX still remains that higher level of versatility for the drone-mounted systems, the full autonomy side of things. So it sits very cleverly on it, not cleverly, but it sits definitely on its own. The versatility is still there with the GX, but I can understand customers who, and it depends on where you're using the system, what you're doing with the system. If you're drone deploying the system in any way, shape or form, then it's still STX is the preferred, in my opinion, the preferred product. If you're operating more in that AEC space, and I talked about this journey that we started at the beginning, it's about the journey of Emesent as well, where we've come as a business through that mining into AEC and starting to, I don't want to use the word dominant, but we're starting to get really a foothold into this market. We're listening to what our customers say and we're introducing the products that we need to do into that market, which GX definitely does. What always interests me, so when it becomes the versatility and the user case of the system, it always surprises me where the products end up, what the products end up doing. There's no one standout solution, there's no one standout user case and that's the versatility, because, if I'm an SME, a small to medium enterprise in the UK, I have 3 or 4 people that are working for me, and I'm doing a variety of things, because that's what you need in this industry. You don't get one client that just tells you to do building surveys and that's you done for a year. You will have to do building surveys, you'll have to do topographic, you'll have to do utility surveys, you'll have to do roof scans, you'll have to do elevations, there's lots of different things, heritage work, volumes. So you want one tool that fits all of that. So there's no one user case that stands out. Because they're all unique, I think the user case that stands out is I can put it in the boot of the car, I can be driving to work, and if I'm sideswiped, as we call it in the UK, I need you to go to site, I need you to do my volumes. I've got the tool that can do it. I don't have to go back to the office. I've got that one piece of equipment. The fact of also the form factor of the case, travel's difficult, jumping on a train with it, nice and easy. You imagine taking a terrestrial scanner into the centre of London with a tripod, with the targets. They've got this small suitcase type equipment that you can just take anywhere with you. Yeah.
The fact that the way we do marketing, right? The last product we launched was more than 4 years ago, and it was STX. So it's not something that happens every day. So we work a lot. We started probably 6 months ago, starting, the marketing campaigns and how we're going to target, the audience that wants to hear about a new product. So I think the key thing for us is that we have a team that's very collaborative. So, there is people that take pictures, videos, there is people that talk, there is people that post on LinkedIn and reach out to the partners, to influencers. Like we really think about everything and how we can actually move the market and tell our story to the right people at the right time and in the right place. So magazines as well, of course, we work with them. Yes, and then also reaching out to end users and making sure that we have testimonials of people who have been using it to kind of capture that genuine impression instead of, we can say it's the best product, but we are Emesent. So I would rather hear it from someone who is actually using it and, likes it and hear him talk about it.
And then we drove up to Milan in a very small vehicle, may I add, with lots of equipment. And then we're here today, and to be surprised by, nearly 80 people attended. Again, this is down to David, this is down to Spektra, and this is down to the Italian market. David's worked really, really hard. As have we in the background. We've done the right things. We understand culturally about perpetual licenses and about all this support element that you talked about, and we've doubled down on that as well. But still, to come to here and to be met by nearly 80 plus people, all existing STX users or existing Hovermap users or potential new clients into that, it's just a different level of experience. It's really good.
Giornate come quelle di oggi nascono e hanno successo, secondo me, oltre che grazie chiaramente alle forti collaborazioni, in questo caso con Emesent, che hanno dato vita e possono dar vita a giornate comunque impegnative da un punto di vista dell'organizzazione, ma traggono il loro maggior successo in una visione che noi cerchiamo di mettere, che non è al mese o all'anno, ma è una visione di lungo periodo, per cui tutto quello che ricerchiamo cerchiamo di integrarlo in una nostra visione di lungo termine per poter offrire quindi soluzioni concrete, solide e anche servizi ai nostri clienti per lungo tempo, assistenza per lungo tempo, e chiaramente questo passa anche da giornate in cui si fa informazione, no? Perché questa è una giornata in cui si fa informazione, in cui le persone sono venute liberamente, sono state invitate ad un evento, è stato chiesto, è stato esplicitato il tema e sono accorse a vedere con interesse quello che avevamo da mostrare. Questo è sintomo del fatto che comunque si cerca di dare contenuti e diciamo di partecipare positivamente anche alla divulgazione delle tecnologie nel mercato, e questo onestamente è una cosa che ci dà estrema soddisfazione vedere la sala così piena.
Allora, la collaborazione con Emesent è nata da Spektra ed Emesent stessa 3 anni fa, abbondanti, da una ricerca che ho fatto personalmente del mercato allora, cercando dei brand che fossero competitivi a livello di mercato, di qualità di dato, di quello che era il form factor, di nome sul mercato crescente. Ho analizzato il mercato, abbiamo analizzato insieme il mercato con l'azienda, abbiamo studiato quello che poteva essere il tipo di brand e di prodotto che offrivano, e dopo una serie di approcci iniziali chiaramente tra le 2 aziende ne è nata una partnership che nel tempo si è evoluta, e tant'è che negli ultimi anni c'è una partnership diretta proprio tra Trimble ed Emesent, e lo si nota anche dagli ultimi sviluppi col GX1 e con anche la parte software che ne consegue, con tutto un applicativo in flusso che volge anche verso Trimble Connect, e ha permesso da un lato all'azienda Emesent di essere in Europa, nel mondo, globalmente un marchio ormai riconosciuto come top player, top di mercato. Qualitativamente, con le esigenze nascenti e crescenti dei clienti, da noi riportate da tutta la rete di vendita insomma globale che loro hanno, di applicare, di implementare gli algoritmi, di svilupparli ad hoc per le applicazioni che sono state richieste sempre più da chi li utilizza quotidianamente. La nostra carta di tornasole sono proprio loro, i clienti, quindi quelli che ci dicono cosa serve, come utilizzano le tecnologie. Il GX1 invece è un sistema più dedicato all'IC, alla modellazione BIM, quindi alla mappatura terrestre, con chiaramente ottimizzazione di fotocamere, sempre mantenendo una sensoristica di fatto di base LiDAR identica a quella che è implementata sull'STX. È stato implementato chiaramente il flusso, non solo l'hardware, nel senso che di fatto le camere adesso riescono a completare molto bene l'effetto panoramico e quindi la colorazione RGB, ad essere più pulite senza mascherature così spinte, diciamo così, che ne ombreggiano la panoramica a 360 gradi pulita, e avendo già anche un gnss RTK integrato. Questo permette di avere un dispositivo all-in-one che permette un settaggio un po' più rapido rispetto all'STX, che rimane un sistema dal punto di vista suo estremamente versatile. Ho diversi modi in cui i clienti utilizzano gli SLAM Emesent. Ad oggi posso parlare di overmap in generale STX o ST, perché il GX1 è appena uscito. Per la maggiore vengono utilizzati sistemi in ambito terrestre. Ambito terrestre può essere mappatura urbana, può essere edifici in interno e esterna, può essere ambientale, tanti clienti lo utilizzano ormai di recente in questi ultimi anni, ho visto anche in ambito forestale perché ci sono parecchie richieste di mappature forestali, e abbiamo anche tante applicazioni dove l'overmap si è dimostrato molto valido secondo me, e lì si vede proprio la differenza algoritmica, in ambiti underground, quindi magari di tunneling di anche certe lunghezze e di certe ristrettezze a livello di diametro e di altezze, dove muovendosi in modalità adeguate, perché comunque lo SLAM bisogna sempre considerare che bisogna saperlo utilizzare, hanno permesso tramite gli algoritmi, senza l'ausilio in quel caso di marker, di raggiungere, non dico le accuratezze millimetriche, ma delle accuratezze di non deriva, e comunque delle buonissime accuratezze complessive magari su tunnel che possono essere stati anche di buone dimensioni a livello dimensionale e di lunghezza. Quando un cliente viene da noi, la prima cosa che cerchiamo di capire è proprio non quale tecnologia dare, ma quale scopo è quello del cliente lavorativamente parlando. Noi adottiamo sistemi di fascia alta, quindi tendenzialmente sono sistemi che permettono di fare un po' di tutto, con risultati ottimi. Questo è un po' il concetto che deve anche passare, nel senso che dispositivi di alta fascia e magari combattuti di punti, portate, cose differenti, dati differenti da quel punto di vista matematico, permettono di coprire un po' tutti gli ambiti che abbiamo detto prima, dal forestale o altro. Con gli altri sì, si può magari riuscire a fare qualcosa, però magari con delle run con tempi ridotti molto più brevi, dove non riesci a fare una mezz'ora o un 40 minuti di camminata avendo certezza che quello che viene fuori è un dato utilizzabile. Lì magari dopo 10 minuti, 12, un quarto d'ora al massimo, ma forse se ci arrivi devi andare a interrompere la run, farne un'altra, mergiarle, quando le unisci non sempre tutto è perfetto. Bisogna lavorare probabilmente in un modo anche più complicato ancora, cioè mettendo una marea di control point, studiandoli nel modo corretto, andare a utilizzare lo strumento nel modo corretto e un'elaborazione più onerosa. Con questi tipi di strumento si è più fluidi, con la garanzia di un dato sicuramente performante, che noi spesso e volentieri, noi intendo i clienti, vanno a commissionare, a mergiare anche con dati da scanner statici nostri, insomma, che i clienti hanno, dove è chiaro, magari il dato di uno statico ancora oggi è qualitativamente superiore a quello di un overmap, che comunque è un dato eccezionale, ma si avvicinano e sono comunque sia utilizzabili in simultanea, e questo è quello che vogliono i clienti, quindi velocizzare dove serve con dati di alta qualità, algoritmicamente parlando, performance e altro, e dall'altra dove serve magari andare a commissionare con dati da una TLS, da un laser scanner statico, perché in quel particolare ambiente è richiesta un dettaglio maggiore, più spinto.
Siamo estremamente attenti a quello che possono essere le proposte o le richieste che vengono dal mercato, tanto attenti da poi fare continuamente analisi di mercato al nostro interno per vedere quali sono le migliori soluzioni che nel miglior modo si conciliano con quella che è la filosofia della nostra casa mandante, la nostra filosofia, la filosofia che si fa alla visione quindi della nostra azienda, e sono in linea quindi come proposizioni tecnologiche e come valori a quello che chiaramente è il nostro DNA, ma soprattutto che ci vengono come richieste ascoltando le persone sul mercato e quindi portando anche tecnologie ed organizzando giornate come questa di oggi, riuscitissima, tra l'altro con tantissime persone sul territorio, e mi ha fatto molto piacere vedere, qualcuno è venuto anche da abbastanza lontano, da molto lontano anche, quindi questo testimonia il fatto che la ricerca della soluzione e l'attenzione a quello che è l'esigenza del mercato porta effettivamente dei valori aggiunti che sono percepiti e sono riconosciuti anche dalle persone. Questo credo sia la più grande soddisfazione, insomma.